Okay, good morning, folks. We'll continue the Maimer.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning. So up to Eis Gimel. So what he's going to explain is that the beauty of the Avodah, the Nefesh Elikis, the Shlichus rather, the Nefesh Elikis is the Mevar, the Nefesh Ba'amis. He explained that this is the two shemas of Shema, Shemban. Shema, that's the Mili of Aleph, that's Hashpah, that's basically Zoh, the Gematria Adam, and Shemban, the Gematria Behim. And this is the general difference. He drew the parallel in several manifestations. One is the general difference between Shem Havaya, Mashpia, and the other seven names, which are the Kelim, the Sfiris, where Shem Havaya is the Pnimius. Pnimius versus Chitzonius, that's the Nekuda here. Shema is Pnimius. Shemban is, relatively speaking, Chitzonius. And that's the Shoresh of Nefesh Kis, Nefesh Bahamis, the relative Shoresh. Likewise, Torah and Mitzvahs, that Torah and Tefillah in general. So Torah is Melamayla Lamata the Shema, and Tefillah is Shemban, likewise Torah and Mitzvahs. There's also that same distinction. Nonetheless, within Torah itself, there's also both in Yonim of Shema and Shemban, and that is Torah Shebiksav and Torah Shebal Peh. And in Torah Shebal Peh itself is the two in Yonim of Nigla, which is Melamata Lamayla, and Chassidus Melamayla Lamata, Shema and Shemban. And through, just like we said, it concluded that through he said at the end of his Aleph, that through the Shlichus, through the Avodah, of the Nefesh Elikis being Mashpia and being Mavad and elevating Shem, the Nefesh Havahambis, likewise, the Torah coming down, Dafka Lamata, where it's Nigla, the Mailat so Pnimius HaTorah, here it's Nigla and it's working through all of the kashas and the contradictions and so on. Machashakim Shivani, you placed me in darkness. The Gemara says it refers to Talmud Bavli in particular, so that pales an aliyah in Torah Lamaila. That's why after Yitzis Mitzrayim, Matan Torah, what did they see by the Eibishter? They saw bricks, man-made bricks symbolically. Livna Sasapir, Ke'etzem HaShamayim L'Torah. That's the result of the Avodah of Yitnu Yitzis Mitzrayim. Matan Torah began already then, contributing to the divine throne. That the divine throne is made up not of heavenly bricks, heavenly stones. Stone to be the symbol, a natural made object. The fact that it's called a brick, not a stone, implies that it's made by man. That's the contribution of man, as it were, to the heavenly throne. That is the outline, and now the Bir Ha'inyan. It's a deep Maimer, and Be'ez Hashem, we will understand what we can understand. All right, so we're Eis Gimel. Everybody's with me? Eis Gimel? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Bir Ha'inyan. The Inyan is a bird yeah, I'll explain moments in previous Eis. Shehefer Shebein Shema Shemban, the difference between these two shemas, who bedugmas is analogous to the Hefer distinction between Shema Havai, B'chinas Pnimius. Shem Havai, which we learned in the previous Maimor, is Pnimius, Shem Ha'etzem, Shem Ha'mefurish, actually have to be around, first Shem Ha'mefurish and even deeper Shem Ha'etzem. The Shara Shemes, so in contrast to Shem Havai, to other names which are relatively speaking, B'chinas Chitzonius. And as he said before, Pnimius means the expression of self, within self, and Chitzonius means already, the Gedr of Chitzonius means for another. It's also a very relative term. Who is the other? What is the other? There's the other within self as well. There's the literal other, and there's a world out there. But that's the general distinction. It's all relative. Pnimius self, Chitzonius other. In other words, Shem Havai is the Gila of the Shleimus of Elikus. And the other names already as Hashem relating to and governing creation. Yuv and Gami and Ba'isi should be Shemus. Understand this also from the letters of the names. Din Yadua, it's known. Yeah, this was a similar theme that we learned. Zeh Yitnu last year's Maimer Tavshin Chav. She'oisius in B'chinas Kelim, that oisius are Kelim, right? Kelim is a vessel, letters are Kelim by which we express ideas, feelings. So what's the mile of Shemavaya? Shemavaya is also oisius. But it's what? Pnimius HaKelim. Shekiven she'enim dova nifred min ha'oyer, because here, these are the kinds of letters or kelim that are not separate from the actual gilui, the oyer. As he goes on to say, now, friends, that just want you to know that this is he develops himself with several oisias, this theme. So let's reserve concluding, having understood the subject. We haven't and won't until at least another oisia, and possibly, yeah, and Dalit is long. So let's try and build it all together. However, in the case of Shem Havaya, even though there's oisius, but the oid is not being mislabish in something outside of self. Of course. So what are the oisius? Holding in the oisius, so it's not mislabish in an other, but rather holding in the oisius the gilui who dover. The oisius of Shem Havaya are the way by which the oid is expressed. It's not expressed yet in Shem Havaya to an entity that can be said outside of Elikus. This Betanya bin Oisius explains the Tanya in Shara Yichud with respect to Oisius. I know, which means Kelim Oisim Tzir v'Tzmuna b'Ha'or. On the one hand, the Kelim we're talking about Yitke Vovke is a darge where the oisius do make it tzir and a form in the oil. Yudke Vovke, it's saying something. Actually saying. It's actually. I'm just going to put you on mute, guys. And unmute yourself at any point you want to say something. So, Yudke Vovke means something. It means the eternal one. So there is a tzir, and it's one in the oir, avol hakoil hu mitzad the oir atzmai. It's all the oir. It's expressing fluidly and transparently what the oir is all about, and not being mislabish in something other that has to be then decoded or discovered. Again, let's build the case. Let's build the understanding slowly. So that's Pnimius HaKelim. That's Shem Havaya. Chitzonius HaKelim, that's already something else. There's Gilui and there's Heller. There's Bligvul and there's Gvul. Hashenki and the Oisius of Shem Havaya are not Heller and not Eno Gvul. Again, reserve commentary to it. Let's learn a lot. Unless you have a problem. You understand better, so let's keep on going. Whereas the other Shem is, so here the Elikus is being revealed as it's revealed to and in something else. Let's understand this. The Moshel, this was the Moshel of last year's mind. Give a Yuvan Zaderach Moshel. Understand this by way of illustration. And why if this mashal is going to be useful and not really useful. It's a valid mashal because we are made in the image of the Mailus. The way it works, the nefesh and oisis, the matter, is because that's the way it is the Mail. So talking about a person down here, meaning oisis b'nefesh adam. So let's look at letters and their various stages within the nefesh. The hine gam bevrikas v'skiras haseichol ish oisis. Brikas means that first moment of shining, and skira means an overview before he brought it down to pratim. It's al derech in chachma. Now we learned this dargis and chachma, but belief and kloli, the conscious I've grasped something, is oisius. Shaygam habrika bob oisius. Even this flash, because of baraka mavrik, it's chachma in general. This flash of insight, this eureka moment, this discovery. There are letters to that. Aval oisius elo ein beoifensh adam mechaven lahalbishes haseichel boisius elo. It's not that he's looking for words and letters, how to express the idea, which happens way down the road in communication. Way down the road in the process of the development of this idea. When you'll teach her to write a book or express it to someone, he's going to choose the words. But not here. Here they come spontaneously. The seichel is spontaneously expressed in the oisius. Elo, rather, the idea itself, from itself, as it were, naturally comes in these letters. Now, to be sure, also needs to be appreciated that the letters and words here, there, again, this is a moment. These are not words and letters in the whole composition with grammatical construct, etc. But in the real oisius, he's thinking in a language. He's thinking in a language, and there are oisius to this. But it's oisius that come naturally, and the oid itself is expressing. It's not like there's the oid. Now, what letters in the array of words of the dictionary in front of me am I going to put the seichel? That's what happens when you write your book, when you teach. Many ways I could say that. I'm not going to say which book, what should I use? It's not so when he internally, when he has this discovery. The seichel comes with oisius. Let's continue. The letters come from the idea itself. Now comes an important point. And therefore you can't change them. Meddle with those original, there were fragments of words and oisius. Meddle with them, in which the original seichel was this gala, you ruin it. If you're gonna disturb the person, while he's having this moment, you lost it.
The person got control over the oisius at that point. It's almost like
He's not choosing them. The seichel, yes, well, he has control in the sense that he came up with this idea. But the oisius, no.
So he's saying that you can't change them, meaning that they have to be this way and not some other way.
The seichel is machai of these oisius. And it comes with the seichel, the expression, the gilui needs these oisius. And as I'm telling you, what happens is, manifestedly, if when the person is having this moment, then he's distracted or disturbed, he won't be able to discover he lost the idea. So put in the other oisius. No, these are the oisius that were the malbus the seichel. So it can't be changed. Now, a lower level, even oisius that are in the level of machshava, it means it begins machshava shel machshava. Not machshava shel machshava means really internal conversation, not the thought just before you speak. It's machshava shel bedibur. Machshava shel machshava is when it's natural and internal. Here too, you're not choosing. You're not choosing words and letters to think about what you understand or entertain your feelings. It's an internal office memo that you're writing spontaneously, and it expresses the purity of the inyan that's going on inside. Here too, in machshava, shemachshava, hevoisi shebay me'atzmon, im gili ha'seichel. We're talking about a seichel thing now. They come together with the seichel, b'li yachon alach in a oisius. It's not premeditated, and it comes naturally with the oisius. Now, we're exploring this, friends. Don't conclude. It's a jigsaw puzzle. Let's try and put it together. It's actually not a jigsaw puzzle, but it really is. You're making a painting, and this is a very general, ethereal outline. I'm going to fill it in and fill it in and fill it in. Give it four. Now, once he's already thought it, he can rethink. Can rethink it again in other letters. So therefore, this surely is an indication, proves that which came with the chemelim, they are separate. If later I can rethink this, they're using a whole different set of language. He's asking you shaila. He's asking you shaila if I'm rethinking the idea, different oisius. If the original oisius were, as we're saying, positing now, are one with the seichel. They couldn't be exchanged for other oisius. The nimtzas, it comes out, that from this perspective, clearly oisius are like garments. Kalvush tachlifim, as the pasuk says, like a garment, they are exchanged. So we've added now another dimension to the discussion, and that is concluding the kolmokim, notwithstanding the truth of what we just said, ain't no levushim for them. The gambri, they're not completely separate. Elohim yechodim im era seichel. They're united with the seichel. So there is a degree of separation, but still we have to grasp this tension. They're united with the seichel. That when he first has the idea, so the seichel is revealed in them. So much so that he doesn't feel those. He didn't choose them; they just came naturally. Now comes what is the difference? Now comes a very important point. Therefore, indeed, if he's going to think about it in different oisius, which is what happens invariably, the oir is diminished. The brilliance of the idea, the purity of it, the purity of the idea that occurred to him, and it came with spontaneous oisius. Those oisius are batul umavultul lagamli to the oir. The end of the day, taka, the oir seichel is not the oisius. It's something transcendent. It's a pure idea, which is why it could be put where later in different oisius. And he does think about it in different words later. But those oisius and the way they came when he first had that seichel, the way he was thinking, the language he was using, that is oisius, a bottle, mavutal, one with the oir, and the brilliance of the oil, not compromise of the idea. That's why it's such a eureka moment. Sight, it's more like an ear, as we learned in my embodiment length. It's more seeing than the classic understanding, which we're doing right now, is you're building together an idea in your head. You're not discovering anything now, although there's little epiphanies going on in your head maybe as we're learning, but they're very subtle. You're basically hearing something, you're trying to construct it in your own head. It's about an original idea that a person discovers. Again, you can have that also, relatively speaking, in any intellectual process. But the point is that after reconstructing, revisiting the original idea and different oisias, the oir of the idea, since I'm now choosing the oisias, and the oisias are coming melamata lamaila, rather than melamaila lamata with the oir, so the oir of the seichel, the purity of it, is diminished. This is all what oisias hamachshava, oisias haseichel. Then the level of dibur machshava, that's when you're thinking before you speak. And for sure, in actual speech, here it's a different world completely. There's an array of words and letters, and we pick them by which you want to put the seichel. They don't come with the oil. When it comes to speech already, writing, etc., you can change them. Here, you're not going to compromise the seichel. It's come down already to the world of dibur. This dibur, that dibur is not going to change. It's an interesting example he brings. I don't know why. Big Labdona will have to tell me why. These Taisus are Rosh V'Ra. I guess because they say similar things a lot. Rishonim, classic Rishonim on the Gemara. Shekulam. Now, what did they say? Shekulam and not Shneim. Then Shekulam Oimrim Svara Achas. They both say the same svara. V'chol echad in the Gemara. Oimra ba'ishes acherim. And they use different language explaining the svara. It's one idea. It's not a different idea. That's why, because this is already in the Isis Shibiksiva, this is writing, this is dibur. And here, when you're choosing ICS, if you're choosing intelligently and it's appropriate words, so there's many appropriate words and it will not diminish the seichel. This is all in contrast to ICS that come with the seichel. So here is the distinction. The oisius that come with the Eir HaSeichel, they are oisius atzmiyim. They're essential oisius, not just part of the statement. Oisius atzmiyim. What does this mean? The whole union of a ois, of a letter, is in order to communicate to somebody else. What does it mean? Oisius atzmiyim. And then there's oisius hanivdolim etzem. Let's read to the end of the paragraph and try and offer some insight. And then there's oisius that come separate from the etzem, from the essential self. For example, Gashmius, letters that are engraved and letters written. So letters engraved on the precious stone. So they're letters, you're reading something in the stone. But what you're reading in the stone is not something else of the stone itself. The stone itself. But then you can take, so that's the oisius that come with the seichel. But then you take the stone and you imprint it in wax. What happens there? Then the letters become separate. Stone is removed, and the letters are imprinted on the wax, and then that's in the stone. The fat basis aksiva, and then certainly letters which are written. So there's ink on the paper. As the letters are completely different from the paper upon which is written. So I'm not going to offer the hes because the Maimon itself is doing it. So what did we establish? Let's get the language and the facts correct. The facts on the table. What are the facts on the table? The facts on the table are that the oisius that come l'chatchila with the discovery are oisius atzmiyim. They cannot be changed. They come spontaneously. They're not chosen. They're not magbil the seichel. They reveal the seichel. You can then rethink that, of course, later using different oisius. So it's not a hechrech. The oir comes dafk in these oisius. Taka true. But what's going to happen? And it's going to be diminished. The oir seichel will be diminished if you use different oisius that came spontaneously. When it comes to speaking it, where you have to bring it down to somebody else's head, to the world out there, and writing it. So there, for sure, you're choosing a whole array of oisius. Then if dolim, and there's a whole choice possible, and you're not going to compromise the seichel by using different language. Like the Tosfos Harosh and the Ran, bringing a svara and Gemara using different language, it's the same svara, it's the same nikah. And all this is because here the distinction is oisius atzmiyim and oisius, what did he call it? Nivdolim and etzem, separate from the etzem. Okay, I'm just going to say this because it will help us. The nekuda, the depth and the nekuda of it is that this koyach hagvul as exists within Eir itself. So there, it's not magbal Eir itself. It's the shleimus of Eir itself. That's oisius atzmiyim. Oisius atzmiyim means that this is the essential shleimus of the Eibishter, that it can megal himself in gvul and bli gvul. But then this gvul, as it manifests, that's already separate. It creates a tzimtzum, creates separation and distance and smallness, etc. So that's a chsodim. Chsodim in the sense that it's further, it's far, and it's distant. Nivdolim. The more nivdol, the more limited, the further, the lower. But b'pnimius u'be'etzem, havaya olikim, shem likim, shem havaya, it's all here. So the oisius that are expressed that come out with the gilui of the nefesh, of a new seichel that comes from where? It comes from a deep place of rotzen. Where does it come from? The desire to understand, the desire to know. It comes from an atmistic place in the nefesh, a true discovery. Koyach HaMaskil. What fires the Koyach HaMaskil is the rotzen. So we're talking about atmistic koyachos. So when that is revealed and the oisius come with it, what's oisius? Oisius is the ability of the nefesh, oisius adibur. It's just adibus, the ability ksiva, is the ability of a person to be able to communicate to the outside person, to the world, what's going on inside. It's an ability that bechitzonius is only for the other. Where's it rooted? It's rooted like l'maylo keichakvul, very deeply in the nefesh. And so when the nefesh the person wants to discover something, and it's got to be put into oisius. It's a seichel. So the oisius that well then from the nefesh are welling from the etzem nefesh. The oisius are there not simply a means by which to communicate to somebody else, but a shleimus of the nefesh, the keichakvul sheb nefesh. Getting some kind of insight. The Maimon doesn't give this as butter, but it's helpful. Question? Trying to understand. Good. It's a bit early for questions now. Now we have to. Okay, let's continue. Ois Dalet v'Yuvin. Yuvin zemin Teresh b'Ksav Teresh Bal Peh. Understand this. What oisius atzmim and oisius nivdolim and etzem, the different kinds of oisius or stages in oisius. Looking at Teresh b'Ksav and Teresh Bal Peh, and it's fascinating. And we learned this. This was last year. Teresh b'Ksav, the gay in the oisius. What do we see? Teresh b'Ksav, the letters are critical. Hashem k'bo Teresh Bal Peh. Teresh Bal Peh, it's not expressed this way, this one, or that way. Tanya explains that the form and the picture of a given letter explains there. The word oisis is asa boika. The morning has come, gilui. So the particular shape and form of the letter are indicative of the oil that's being this gala. He illustrates correct. The Mona says aleph, take aleph. So yud l'mayla, yud l'mata v'kav b'emtza. There's different ways to write the aleph. One way is a yud above, a yud below, and a line in between. What is it? What is it? Yud l'mayla b'chinas chachmila. That's chachmila. Yud l'mata b'chinas chachmastima. That's hidden chachma, which is lower than yud chachmila. Vav b'emtza b'chinas teferes shemachabram, and the vav is teferes that unites the two. Without going to the whole asbara, just for illustrative purposes. Yes, but it can be written a different way. It's an inverted dalet. Excuse me, at the bottom of the aleph kidua behilchastam, as in the hilchastam, the different ways to write oisius. So when it's a dalet at the bottom, that is alluding to malchus. Nikra dala, malchus is called Dala, poor, receiver. That's what, another way to write the aleph. Not chachmi lot, the chachmi stima, but chachma to malchus. A whole different damshach. All the way down. The Tmuna says beis, and what's a beis? A kavla maila is a line above, a kavla matan, a line below, parallel lines. A kavla emtzel, tzad yamin, and a line to the right that unites them. What is that? It's a kavla, and it'll be in the upper line is bin, kavatacht, and the malchus. And the lower line is malchus. And what's the connecting line is teferes that unite bin and malchus. Third example, it says gimel. What's gimel? Vav, a yud b'seifa. It's a vav, and the bottom is a yud. And this, so what's gimel? Yisoid, it's just illustrating, we're going down the line here in Ashpa. Yisoid is mashpia to malchus. The Gemara says, explaining the aleph base, aleph, teach, bina, understanding, gmeil, dalim, bestow to the poor, gmeil, dalim. Malchus is dal, the receiver, as it were, and gimel is mashpia. By yud shelamata meid al tzimtzum shebegmar ashpa, and the bottom yud at the bottom of the gimel is the tzimtzum at the end of the ashpa. In these oisius, it's this way, this final act of bestowal. So here the difference between those gimel and vav is similar. It's also made up the vav, the yud, and the vav, but where? By a vav, we learned all this. The yud is on top, but by his gimel, and by his gimel, it's the opposite of the the yud is the bottom of the letter. I know the distinction is shayud shvetmunas is vav. What's the yud? It's not the tzimtzum. It's also tzimtzum, a different kind of tzimtzum. Not the tzimtzum at the end of the ashpa when he gives the dafka in these that the Rav gives the seichel in these particular martial oisius, that's gimel. But the yud is the kudas hachachma. That's the nekuda of the idea. Then later drawn down through the vav. But the unit is gimel is not the nekudas hachachma, but the tzimtzum, the very contracted and very finite, the very orderly hashpa that comes at the end. Gimel dal. Right, so we got a little tour of the oisius, aleph, beis, gimel, and gimel in contrast to vav. We got the general idea? Yeah? Okay. Just remember where this is all going. It's all going to explain how in the beauty of Nefesh Bahamas, or in the Aved of Nigla, or Teda Lamata, it's pale and Ali and Teda Lamaila. That's where all this is going. So the end is going to be Dafka the Oisites, which are Nifrod. Let's go for it. Cholze Negeya, the Teresh Biksav Dafke. This is all Neged in Teresh Biksav, the precision of the Oisites. She say dosa, remember Oisies. What's Teresh Biksav? Say dosa, its foundation. It's the Oisies. So you have to be very careful that the Oisies should be with their form and then with the tzelem, their image. That every part of the letter, which we just pointed out now, each letter is a fusion of other letters. All the parts should be fused without any break. It's got to be one homogeneous letter. And every letter is going to be surrounded by parchment, not touching the other one. And the reason is the Teresh B'Ksav, this is the Atzmizdika Oisius that are one with the Oir. And they're revealing a Elokus, revealing Adorotz and Hashem. Each letter is a different Amshocha. The Eibishter wants this and he wants that. It's all Gilim, and you have Shanoisam Kal, they can't be changed at all. Since they're expressing the divine will, changing the letters, you're tampering with the pure Gilul Likus, you're changing the earth. It's possible. They're being megala what the earth wants to say. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. The words he used before were, it's not that the seichel is malbish, the oisius are malbish the seichel, the oira seichel said atzmein tztayir beha oisius. So oisius boy meha oira seichel atzmein. Aval, continue the ois. Aval v'terish about pe'enyan negei is klal. The particular letters are not negei at all. Or canal as we illustrated before. Shetais v'serosh v'ran oimrim svarachas. They say the same svara. V'cholechad oimrim oisius acherim. They all use different oisius. Now I don't have this sefer. I got to get it. Hora 29 tells us to look at the heart of the Rebbe Tafei Tzaddik Beis, which I don't have. Maybe you can get it from me. Maybe someone has it. Could send me a picture of it. Upshita shebetayra shebal peh leinegei yin shall hafsek betmunas. Oh, it's for sure. It's obvious that it should be written in such a way that the letter shouldn't touch. It's not negei. The shatia kolis mukefes gvil. In that means the letters should be whole. Shouldn't be a break in a letter. The lama shaneh doesn't change anything, and that the letter should be mukefes gvil, surrounded. Not negei. And if you show isis the teresh shebal peh him dove nifred me'oyer. They are separate from the etzem, but they don't compromise the oil. It could be these oisius, that oisius. As long as they're appropriate, it can be changed. It doesn't affect the oil. It does. We continue based on Hashem tomorrow, today's story. In honor again of Rabbi Twersky, a story that he told, a famous story, you've Istanbul heard it, but I think I told you this book.
So to wrap up what we learned today in 30 seconds.
Go ahead. I thought you wanted to do it. You want me to do it?
No, yeah.
To wrap up, we learned in 30 seconds. So he said, it's all to understand the Eloi, the Maila of Teda Lamata, of the Bitter of Shemban over Shemban. To understand all of this, which we'll get back to later, in Oisius, there's two kinds of Oisius. There's the Oisius that come naturally and spontaneously with the Oir, and they are not separate from the Oir, and they are not negotiable. The Oir naturally, in its expression, chooses, as it were, these Oisius. And it comes spontaneously from a deep place in the Nefesh where the discovery came from. Which, as I said before, all comes from the Ratzon. And it's all for the self. These are not letters and Oisius of communication. These are Oisius to reveal the Seichel. And then there's Oisius way down the line, which I'm choosing, for which I'm choosing to communicate to another. Dibur, Ksav, even Oisius Machshava Shebedibur, as opposed to Oisius Machshava, as I'm thinking to myself, there too, I'm not choosing letters. That's less spontaneous, but it's another darga. It's another darga in Oisius, which are Dovok, Oisius Atzmi. And so the difference is in Teresh B'Ksav and Teresh B'Alpeh. Teresh B'Ksav, which is the Giloi of the Eibishter's Ratzon Elyon, that comes with these Oisius, and that's B'diuk. Masha'ken Teresh B'Alpeh is already about communicating and analyzing and discovering and contributing and understanding this Torah. That's Teresh B'Alpeh, Mitzad the Mata, that's already Mamash Dibur, communicating the Mata. The Mata is now engaged in this whole learning process. It could be different Oisius, same Svara, different Oisius, and the absolute role of Oisius are not critical, this Ois or another Ois. So all to say so far, whoa, so the Oisius, Atzmi, that's really true Gilui, and it's close to the Nefesh, and it's Atzmi is dig. And yet as it goes on to say, I don't know what's going on. You need Teresh B'Alpeh to Magal the Ratzon Elyon, which is Dafka the Mata, the compromised Oisius. Could be this Oisius, that Oisius. That's, of course, the irony. Okay, to be seen.